Let me tell you a story my parents never stopped talking about. A story that haunted my childhood and eventually nearly cost me my life. It all began 13 years ago, just days before I was born. That morning, my mother was outside in our garden, plucking weeds, when she heard a noise that would echo in her nightmares forever. First, high-pitched screams, then the screeching of tires, and finally, an earth-shattering crash. Neighbors poured out of their homes, all rushing toward the sound. Down at the bottom of the old coach road, they followed a trail of black tire marks that ended at the edge of a cliff. When they reached the drop-off, what they saw turned their stomachs. Far below, on the jagged rocks, lay the burning wreckage of a bus. It had plummeted straight off the cliff and shattered on impact. Locals scrambled down the slope, desperate to help, praying for survivors. But when they reached the mangled metal, their prayers turned to screams. It was the local school bus, and every single child on board was dead. Some kids had been thrown from the windows during the fall, their tiny bodies broken against the rocks. Others were still inside, limbs twisted and lifeless, their faces frozen in fear. Some had been decapitated by flying shards of glass. It was a scene of pure carnage. Nearly every family in the area lost a child that day. Some lost 2, even 3. When emergency crews arrived, it was already too late. Not a single child had survived. The community was devastated. In one tragic morning, an entire generation had been wiped out. A mass funeral was held days later. Nearly 40 small coffins were lowered into the earth. An investigation revealed something even more disturbing. The bus had not been driven by the usual driver. That morning, a patient from a nearby mental asylum had escaped during the night. He broke into the bus depot, stole a driver's uniform, and crept into the school bus before sunrise. As morning came, he drove the route like nothing was wrong, picking up every unsuspecting child standing by the roadside. No one questioned him. No one knew. And once he had them all, he sped to the cliff and drove straight off. That was the story I grew up with. And because of it, there were barely any kids around when I was young. The only ones left were those too young to have been on that bus. The rest, gone. But the part of the story I'm about to tell you happened when I was 13. That night, my friends and I had gone to a late movie in town. We had a blast, laughing, joking, not realizing how much time had passed. By the time I reached the bus stop, the last ride home was long gone. I found a payphone and called home. My mom answered. When I told her I missed the bus, she panicked. My dad had taken the car and she couldn't come get me. I told her I'd just walk. She begged me not to. There were no streetlights on the old country road and it had started to snow. Drivers wouldn't see me in time. She said she'd call our neighbors, try to find someone to help. I waited, but no one came. So against my better judgment, I started walking. The wind howled through the trees. Snow fell in thick sheets. Every step was cold, slow, and lonely. Then behind me I saw headlights. A vehicle, coming fast. No sound, just lights slicing through the dark. It was a bus. I waved my arms frantically, and at first it zoomed past without stopping, but then, screech, it braked just ahead of me. The door hissed open. Without thinking, I ran and climbed aboard. The door snapped shut behind me. The driver said nothing, and the bus took off at full speed. Inside was dark, too dark. But as my eyes adjusted, I noticed something strange. The bus was full. Not 1 or 2 people, but full. Every seat was taken, but no one said a word, no one moved. They just stared ahead, completely still. The air was freezing, and a foul stench hung in it, thick, wet, like mold and rotting meat. I sat down beside a boy about my age. He stared forward, unmoving. I tried to break the silence. "Hey, mind if I open the window?" I asked. He didn't answer, didn't blink, didn't even breathe, it seemed. The smell was overwhelming now. I reached for the window latch to open it, Snap! It broke off in my hand. That's when I noticed the cobwebs. Thick cobwebs clung to every corner of the bus. The windows were caked with grime. The leather seats were splitting and crusted with mold. The floor beneath my feet sagged and creaked, as if it might collapse at any second. I turned to the boy again. "What's wrong with this bus?" I whispered. He turned. Slowly. I will never forget that face. His skin was gray, stretched tight like leather over bone. His lips were peeled back in a deathly grin, exposing yellowed teeth. And his eyes, those eyes were wide, bulging, alive, and filled with something ancient and cold. Then I noticed every passenger on the bus had turned to face me. Rotting faces, dirty, torn clothes, eyes that burned with an unnatural light. I leapt from my seat, heart racing, and sprinted down the aisle. I slammed my hands against the door. It burst open. And in that moment, I heard it. A horrific crash. The bus bucked violently, throwing me into the darkness. Screams erupted around me. Children screaming, and then pain. Everything went black. When I awoke, I was in a hospital. My mother was there, crying. She said a farmer found me just after sunrise, lying in the snow at the base of a cliff near the old coach road. I had 2 broken legs, a fractured arm, and a deep gash on my head. The doctor said I had been delirious, raving about dead children and a ghost bus. But the place where I had fallen, it was the exact spot where the school bus had crashed 13 years earlier. Believe what you want. Say I'm lying. Say I imagined it. But I know the truth. 13 years ago, just days before I was born, I was already a passenger on that bus.